All right, and I just hit my quota on por favor for the day. Okay, so so let's go through a quick recap. Welcome to session 9. And actually, for the first time, I'm going to say for those that are going to watch this later, thank you for joining. I've neglected to welcome the people that end up watching this throughout the week, but I've been getting so many emails from folks, and I recognize that, you know what, not everybody's going to have time at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday if you're in Pacific, or 2 o'clock on Eastern. So thank you guys for making the time, and anybody who watches this later, thank you so much for joining when you do have time. Okay, so just a quick recap. The premise of National Association of Realtors says on average people move every 5 to 10 years, right? So just simple math, 10 to 20% of our CRM, of our database, is going to move. The question is, which 10 to 20%? How do we stay in front of everybody? And so the answer to that was really understanding and reconnecting with our folks, number one, and then understanding where they are in their journey. So creating a forecasting script and forecasting campaign of where they are again in their home buying journey is really what we're after here, so that you can predict, you know, hey, listen, these are the people that I'm going to help within the next 12 to 24 months. And these are the people that, you know, are going to need my help in 3 to 5 years. And these are the people who, you know, aren't going to move for another 10 years with young kids, or not moving until the kids graduate, or whatever that might be. Here are the people that are going to be buried under the floorboards, right? And they're going to be a phenomenal referral source from now to ad infinitum, right? So we really want to get clear on where people are in their home buying journey and home selling journey, in their journey of life specifically, and how, and obviously the homes are a byproduct of that. So that was really where we were, what we were after. And in our last session, we talked about and addressed the issue of, yeah, but what if I'm not comfortable calling everyone in my database? What if I've lost touch with folks? So we decided we'd create that reconnection script to really, you know, re-engage. The problem that we ran into, if you'll remember from last week, was this pitch problem, or the problem of the 3 brains: the neocortex, the croc brain, the midbrain. Anybody want to quickly recap on what that problem is? Where does, just for bonus points here, when we think up of our pitch and our offer and our value add, what part of the brain do we usually think that up in? Anyone? Going once, going twice.
Neocortex.
Well done. Well done. Who was that?
Jamie.
Jamie, gold star. Well done. Okay, cool. Now, Jamie, for extra points, where is it received from the other person? When we think it up, neocortex, where does it land?
Midbrain.
Close, close.
All right, that goes as the croc.
There you go. Process of elimination. I like your powers of deduction there. So, so the inherent issue, right, is that we're saying something that we've thought and had time to get comfortable with, something that we've really, you know, we've created in our minds, and we're thrusting it on someone else, and they're going to receive it differently than we intended, because we're just naturally wired to first establish, is there something exciting or something threatening, because that's what's led to our survival for millions and millions of years, right? So we have to figure out, how do we navigate through the croc brain, the midbrain, and the neocortex, and really make sure that what we're trying to communicate actually resonates and lands. So I won't go through this, but this is a little bit more on those 3 brains. We talked about a reconnection text as a way to alleviate some of the threat concern, letting someone know, hey, you came to mind and this is the reason. Because in today's day and age, a lot of people don't pick up phone calls, especially if they're out of the blue. But this is the reason that I thought of you. Make sure it's genuine, right? When I was doing X, I'm going to give you a call tomorrow. What's better? Use the assumptive close. What's better, morning or afternoon? And that way, even if they don't pick up, you're starting to build some reciprocity where they'll call you back, text you back, etc., and you can have an opportunity to re-engage. So what's next? We've re-engaged, theoretically re-engaged. And actually, let me pause there for a quick second. For the folks, and Sophie, I see that you said you were not in for the last session. That's okay. We have a ton of people, I'm sure, that aren't here for the last session, but you can always go back in the forum and watch. For those that were here last session, did anyone do a reconnection call? Did anyone do a reconnection text? Go ahead and put in the chat if you gave that a shot. No one. Okay, now I got to ask the next question. Oh, you did, Christine. Well done. Well done. Okay, how did that go?
It was good. I actually am so glad to be joining your sessions because it's making me do this. So I started out easy with people. I'm like, they're a good friend. I've been meaning to get together or whatever, right? So I do have 3 lunches scheduled this week. And then
Wow.
I was also at an event for a friend, and people that just get my emails or, are in my sphere, were coming up to me telling me how much they like what I email in my newsletters or whatever I put out there. And these are people that live in the burbs, like they're probably 45 minutes, an hour away. I don't know that they'll ever use me, but I know they have friends in the city. So now my next thing is to go head down to like my B sphere of people that I know that if I ran into them, I would, we'd have stuff to talk about, but I'm not super close with them. So that will be a little more difficult, I feel like.
Well, you've got good momentum, so don't give up. That's awesome. Good for you. Well done. Did it feel good, by the way, to reconnect with people?
It did. And I'm actually excited. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't talked to them in a long time, but I see they open my emails or whatever, so they know I'm around. So I'm actually kind of excited to get back in touch with some people.
That's amazing. So let me just really quick, because I love to do this kind of thing. Let me ask you one follow-up question on your process. So what was the criteria for folks you felt comfortable reaching out to this time?
I would say it was people that maybe I've been in touch with. My son's a hockey player, so like some of the hockey moms that, maybe he's switched teams and stuff. People that perhaps we've tried to get together in the past, but it just hasn't worked out. So it ended up being about 25 people. And then I also, some of those people are like in the same groupings of people or whatever. So we all kind of got together. So like a lunch for 5 of us, which was great. But then everybody started asking me about real estate and stuff. So hopefully it'll pay off. But it's nice to get back in touch with people, actually.
Well, did you enjoy the lunch?
I did. I've got one tomorrow and one Friday.
So I think there's no way you can lose, right? If you genuinely
right, exactly. I'm just making, reaching back out to people, which is just great for my life in general. So
awesome. Well, I definitely want to applaud you for your efforts. I want to applaud you for your work. Great stuff. Keep going. The results will absolutely show up. And well done. So congrats to anybody else who did the same. If you didn't do the same, please do it. Use Christine as an example of what is possible, and you can do the same. So the one thing I want to point out though to the group is the reason I asked what the criteria was is you heard in her language what her rules were. So if you find yourself not taking action on something, write down your rules. Write down what would have to be true in order for you to just no brainer. I'm going to contact these people, super easy, whatnot. Because the only reason, yes, we all tell ourselves this fiction that we don't have enough time, and I won't rail on this for too long, I promise. But the reality really is it's usually not that we don't have enough time. It's the fact that we've built sort of these blocks of making these tasks larger than they need to be. Because there's some sort of fear or apprehension behind it. So just write down what your rules are. Right? Like, if this person was a friend of my son's because of hockey, or if I knew them through my son's hockey team, or if this was someone that I've talked to within the last 6 months, at 9 months, I don't want to talk to them anymore, but at 6 months, I'm okay. Right? Whatever that is, but just ask yourself, hey, if I got rid of one of these rules, which one would I get rid of, and how would that unlock more potential in me reaching out and taking action? So just a little quick aside, if you're finding yourself not doing if you're sitting here and you're saying, I love, the reconnection idea. If I reconnected with another 100 people in my sphere, it would totally change my business, and that would totally change my life. But the thing that's stopping me is X. Write down what your rules are around, getting in touch with people. So I'm gonna keep moving forward. So we're gonna assume that folks listening and tuning in did reconnect with people like Christine did. So now what? Now what do we do? Now we've got all these other people that we've reconnected with. Well, now we've got to take them somewhere. We got to create a brand script, right? So what's a brand script? A brand script really answers the question of why are we in business? Where is our business going, right? And it's an invitation for them to join us on that journey. So why should they choose you? Where are you headed? And you'll see it. How many people remember this movie? It's one of my favorites, but how many people remember this movie? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's fantastic, right? But I think it's one of those, it just kind of in a comical way depicts this idea of there are many roads to Rome, right? But if you don't have any idea of how you're going to get someone to self-actualize, someone to really, find themselves through your process, which is ultimately what these brands do, right? When they market to us, they don't market a cologne and say, here, use this. It smells good, right? They give you a lifestyle. They give you an ideal that you want to fit into. You see part of yourself aspirationally being a part of. It's an aspirational identity. We have to do the same thing. And the way we do that is we get back in touch with our folks. We find out what's important to them, where they're going. You'll remember, for those of you that joined before, this SB7 framework. A character has a problem. Remember, you're not the character. That's the client has a problem, meets the guide. You are the guide. Gives them a plan, calls them to action that helps them to avoid failure and achieve success, right? So that we want to go back. Let me go back here and really make sure that we have a great understanding of where we're going in our brand and we can communicate it. So just as a quick little side here, these three brands, where are they going? What's their mission? Who can tell me what they think?
World domination.
Potentially world domination. Which one in specifics or particular?
Well, I guess Amazon is world domination and Tesla is space domination.
Okay, and what's Compass?
Be number one, which we are.
Number one. Okay, real estate domination. All right, I'm with you.
Perhaps I'm willing to say perhaps disrupting their industries, disrupting their markets, the way everything is done in their industries.
Absolutely, and I'm so sorry. Who's speaking?
Sorry, this is Daniel.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. First time joining.
Thank you for joining. And you're from Fort Lauderdale?
Fort Lauderdale, you got that right.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining. Okay, let's build on that. Disrupting their industries. Okay, so you pick one and tell me how it's disrupting the industry.
So for Compass, right, our brokerage, we're doing things differently by combining technology so that we make the agent's life easier so that we can make our clients' life easier. So all those three things used to exist independent of each other, and Compass is bringing them all three at once in one single platform. So that's how they disrupted the industry.
Well said. Well said. Good job. Okay, so anybody want to take a stab at what Amazon's mission is or Tesla? You guys are on the right track here. Anybody else? I'm just going to give you my 2 cents here, and I'm going to boil it down. I'm actually going to agree with what Daniel said, and I don't know that I'm fully on board with the world domination just yet, to be fair, but I can see where you got it from. So really simply, Tesla is helping the world become electric. Amazon is helping us get what we need faster. Compass is taking the world of real estate and putting it online. Now, I'm sure that you could argue that all day, and I'm sure that you could make that a million times better, right? But these are disruptors. These are brands that are effectively looking to make our lives better in some way. right? So depending on if you care about the environment for Tesla, if you care about paying for gas prices, right? Those are two very different people and different aims. But the fact is that the mission, they're both on board for the mission of going electric. So it really comes down to us getting clear on where we're going as a brand and where we're going as a business. So how do you tell your story, right? What is your mission? Because your mission has to then go to your folks in your outreach. It's in your brand script. Then it's showcased when you have an event or when you make contact. So whether that is you putting on an event, you meeting someone at a group that you're both a part of and have a mutual interest in, whether that is, you know, a charity, your church, a sporting event, whatever it might be, right? And then at the same time, it's exemplified even more so in your service. And then that comes back full circle to your mission. So I really, you know, I want you guys to think about what is your unique mission that you're on in your real estate careers. And if you're sitting here right now and you're saying, honestly, I'm trying to sell houses. And I'm not saying you are, but if you are, I'm trying to sell houses. That's what I'm trying to do. All right. I'm not trying to change the world or anything. I'm trying to sell homes, good homes to great people, so that I can pay my bills. Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. But when you think about how you communicate it, if it doesn't fill you up with excitement and passion, how is it going to fill somebody else up with that same excitement and passion? So I would invite you to take a look at, yes, those are the things that you're doing, but why do you do it your way? So for example, if you were creating, and I don't want you to overthink this, but if you were creating a brand script, it would probably go something like this. Hi, whomever, so happy we're able to reconnect, incredibly excited that you are, and then you put in where they're headed that you got from your reconnection call and what they shared with you. And that's great because here at your brand, we're committed to your mission plus what they ultimately want. And that's why I'm so glad I called. I'd love to, and then you insert how you plan that next touch point that's going to execute, make contact, right? Your mission and your why. So if I was calling a client, just to give you a further example, so happy we're able to reconnect. I'm so sorry to hear that you're recently separated from your spouse, Jerry, but I'm incredibly excited to be part of your next chapter. I know you mentioned it's been tough, to get back out there. And that's why I'm so glad I called. At Chirag Shah Coaching, we are committed first and foremostly to building a community of phenomenal people, just like you. So I'd love to invite you to join us for our next social event on Thursday, April, the whatever, so that you can meet some great people and have some fun. How does that sound? Just by doing that, you will foster helping them to further where they want to go, and they'll align with your brand. And I'd highly recommend that we think through, for everyone that we're going to reconnect with, what's the next step? How do we separate ourselves in their minds and hearts? How do we tell our story? In what venue are we going to tell our story? Are we going to tell our story at an event? Are we going to tell our story through an email or through information? Are we going to tell our story through specifically going into what our service is? Maybe you reach out to somebody and they say, wow, it was really serendipitous that you reached out to me because we were just thinking about, do we want to sell this house or do we want to lease it? We're moving either way. So no matter what the scenario, you've got to think through, what is my next interaction going to be with these folks? And how does that interaction really, exemplify my brand and where I'm going? How can I align where I'm going with where they want to go? Any questions on that? Yes, no, maybe so. Who can tell me? I'm just curious.
I have to be honest, Stephen. I have to be honest. That script doesn't sound like me at all.
Wayne, was that you?
Yeah, it just doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't sound like me at all.
That's perfect. You didn't write it.
Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't come across as being natural and engaging.
Okay, well, I will have to go fire my script writer, number one.
I'm just saying, for me, that's my personality is more laid back and not so scripted.
Great. So tell me what yours would sound like.
I don't know. I mean, I can't come up with something in my head,
Sure.
but for me, it just didn't flow naturally for me.
Wonderful. Well, first of all,
I'm just being honest.
great. Well, first of all, this is phenomenal feedback. So I want to thank you for the feedback. Secondly, I also want to make sure everybody's on the same page here. These are examples that you are then supposed to create your own voice around. Please do not take my voice and try to replicate it, because it will be inauthentic and it will not work no matter what I decide to write. So the main takeaway should not be that you, and I really do appreciate you, Wayne, for bringing this up, but the main takeaway should not be, hey, this is the brand script that I'm going to start using. If you're on this call and everybody hates it, then I'll come up with another one, sure. But if you're on this call and you can see where this could get you started, then I think it's done its job. My goal here is to get you guys comfortable with writing a script that you do feel good about. So I really appreciate that feedback, Wayne. Thank you so much. The goal here, guys, is that you want to get comfortable figuring out how you're going to align with what the information you've gathered on your reconnection call and whatever that next step is. And what I've seen in a lot of people that I've coached and a lot of the businesses that I've worked with is there's usually a very sporadic and disconnected flow. You'll talk to someone, it's great to hear from you, so glad we reconnected, and then it will either be you were added to a newsletter, or we hope we'll see each other again, and then you bump into them, hopefully, or it's they're not looking to buy or sell right now. And so, yeah, we touched base, but there's not really a next step. And what I'm inviting you to do is really think through, what's that next step going to be? This is how we build on all the things that we've worked on thus far, of the fish frame and the activity forecast, and really getting clear on executing. How are we going to get them into our flow of whatever we have designed ahead of time, to really make sure people feel like they, are a part of something bigger than themselves. They're a part of our community. And then obviously, so we stay in front of them and we understand what their needs are. And part of those needs will be their real estate needs. So great feedback. Thank you, Wayne. For next week, very, very important. Let's think through what your unique mission is, right? Where's your brand going? How will you share it with the world? So just like we just talked about, and Wayne pointed out, if it doesn't sound like your voice, that's fine. Let's make it sound like your voice. Again, scripting is really meant to get it into your body. I'm not a big fan of, sounding like you're reading from a script. That's never going to work. And frankly, when you write a script, you are writing what you are scripting it as you're writing it, if that makes sense. You are putting it into your body as you're creating it. It's not really meant for you to read from, but rather to become fully associated with. So sit down, take the time, write through what you would ultimately like to say. And then, of course, those are going to be your guidelines. You'll find your own flow when you actually talk to people, just based on your own intuition. And you guys have a ton of EQ. If you're in this business, you have to have a ton of EQ. You have to be great with people. And so I don't need to tell you how to have a conversation. You'll do that masterfully. But I think a script of where you're going can be very helpful initially. If you do want some feedback, feel free to send me an email. I'm more than happy to go through and give you some feedback as well. And then I would create a task to follow up with each person you had a reconnection call with, and thank them for having that call, and insert your brand script, whatever that next thing is. And so, for example, Christine's already ahead of the curve. She's already invited people into having lunch, et cetera. And I hope some of you have done the same, but that's where you really want to get to. You want to get into the flow of, how do I take people that I've lost touch with? How do I reconnect with them? How do I get them into some form of cadence of interaction for my prospecting? Are we going to have, a coffee next month, and that's going to lead to an event that we both attend, and that's going to lead to, finding out about what's going on with their best friend and where, they want to move. And so now I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a consultation for their friend, and I'm going to circle back with them. And that's how we're going to engage. There are many, many roads to Rome, as I said, but you want to make sure you at least have some plan to engage more people than you're currently engaging. So it's not rocket science by any means, but you got to have some kind of plan in order to execute. So where are we going? We just talked about a lot of the macro structures in these sessions, a lot of these frameworks that we've introduced, whether it be the tackle box or the activity forecast or using checklists and business tracker or the SB7 framework, or, and on and on. Now we're really getting into the granularity of how do we build on those frameworks and execute using different mediums. So where we are right now is in our calling. What we're going to move to next week is emailing. How do we leverage email? How do we leverage bulk email? How can we start to make that more effective in what we're communicating so that we're not just sending out our newsletter to 10,000 people. I've even seen, I know a gentleman actually who sent it out to 100,000 people. And I, I'm not going to obviously name names, but does not get the kind of ROI that we would hope to reaching out to 100,000 people with any kind of message. And so, I really want to go over some best practices through emailing. Then we'll go through events. I'll have some guest speakers that come on as well who brought, who've grown their following to, 20, 30,000 people and put on some really amazing events. And then we'll talk about how we can leverage social media over top of all of this to really kind of provide some air cover to our ground game, I'll call it, which is calling, emailing, face-to-face marketing. Sound good? Okay, one slight change in structure. We're going to start instituting, and I don't believe it's next week, I believe it's the week after. We're going to start instituting office hours. So we're doing this course every other week. And in the meantime, the reason we're doing the office hours is I want you to be able to come to, and Wayne, I'm not picking on you, but I want you to be able to come to that session with, hey, this doesn't resonate with me. This doesn't work. What else do you have? How can we make this better? I want you to come to me with, hey, I just, made these calls. They didn't go the way that I want them to, can you help me there? So we're going to work together as a group and as a team, but you're more than welcome to bring any and everything regarding your prospecting to the table. And I'm more than happy to help in the best way that I can. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns, anything? No? Okay. Well, then I will give you, I think we're right at time. Thank you guys for joining as always. And if you have any questions or when you create your little brand scripts, I want you to send it to me. Feel free. And I'm happy to give you my notes and my thoughts. Appreciate you. Be well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.